Good evening. This is property development. That's PROP13001, and it's week 8. This week we're dealing with market research. The formal lecture is very short this week, so plenty of time for you to work on your first assessment if you haven't already done so. Those of you watching the recorded session, your first assessment is due on the 3rd of May, Thursday, and please be aware that if you need to apply for an extension, must do beforehand, and if you are late, subject to the final cut-off date, you lose 5% per day for each day of late submission. All right, so market research is obviously important in that it provides some insight to a property developer as to what is likely to occur in the event of the property developer proceeding. It's informed guesswork, there's no doubt about that, but it does provide a number of opportunities for a property developer. One is, of course, that it provides a great deal of credibility as far as a financier is concerned. That is, if you have undertaken proper market research. And secondly, of course, it may substantially mean the difference between success or failure in a property development. One of the important things that we've emphasised in this week's work is the need to reach out to experts and to source up-to-date, credible material. So a large emphasis of this week's work is us encouraging you, or me encouraging you, to find expert material and up-to-date material that you can rely upon. Now, I've provided some suggestions, and one of those is the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Now, I'm going to share the screen, or at least attempt to do so. Monica has joined us. Thank you, Monica, for doing so. And what I'm attempting to do is find the Australian Bureau of Statistics material. Please let me know if that's not what you see on screen. But you should see the ABS website, and from that you can see the information about a wide range of things, in particular information about your region. So if you're looking to develop a property in a particular region, certainly I would encourage you to look at the ABS material, have a look at the demographic material, have a look at the age bracket of population, look at the population projections, the growth, look at the past as an indication of what may be in the future. And hopefully that will be part of the information that you need in order to secure an appropriate property development. But it's not just an issue of looking at demographics. It's a matter of looking at the economic material. Now, in simple terms, we have with economics, macro and microeconomics, and largely it revolves around the issue of supply and demand. So for a property developer, what's the relevance? Well, supply and demand, of course, is the key ingredient for a successful property development. No point having a property development that already adds to a vast oversupply of material or product. So you've got to consider those aspects, and it's all a function of risk. So where do you go to find out some information that will give you some indication of supply and demand? Well, of course, you can engage consultants directly, or you can rely upon freely available information through expert firms that provide information in that regard. Let's have a look at a property report, for example, from Heron Todd White. So here's the property report, April 2018, month in review. You'll see that it's a free monthly property report. Certainly, if I was encouraging a property developer learning the process, I would subscribe to that report. It's an excellent detailed report that provides information, as you'll see, about commercial, residential, rural, and other information. So, and it's very specific. It provides good information about what has occurred and gives you a good insight as to what may occur in the future. Obviously, Heron Todd White, long-standing firm that has a great deal of information, resources, and credibility. I see Ellen's joined us. Thank you, Ellen, for joining us. And as I mentioned to Monica, I'm recording the session now, but please feel free to unmute your microphone or video or both, ask a question, or use the chat facility to do so. So just to confirm that I've completed a short lecture on tonight's topic, and we're now looking at some websites. I've referred to these in the study guide. They're not the entire gamut of websites. or other material, you may find materials that you prefer to use or access on a regular basis. And all of this, if you haven't completed your first assessment, could be presumably useful in that regard. Now let's have a look at some other websites. We'll share the screen once again, and this time we'll have a look at Savills. Now this is set out a little differently, but you'll see that you can undertake reports in relation to certain dates by region. You can undertake a search facility, and research, of course, is a very important part of the work that they do. So when we're looking at market research, we're really trying to capture the essence of information that's provided freely through expert sources, and that will give you an idea as to what it is that you need to consider when undertaking market research. I mean, a large part of this is for a property developer to be in a position to ask the right questions. So if you look at the websites of experts, you'll get an idea of the sorts of questions that you need to be asking yourself, which in turn you can then ask the experts to provide. And unless you ask the right question, you may not receive, of course, the information that you need. So one further example, we'll have a look at Collier's, and hopefully this is what you'll see. So that gives you an idea of what to expect in 2018, and you can see there's a full report there, and you can listen to the report through the video there as well. So these are downloadable documents, and these are pieces of information that will help generally. So you'll see that the specialist information available, for example, on hotels, rural agribusiness, and other information that might assist you. So in undertaking market research, property developers are ultimately trying to reduce risk by obtaining and accessing up-to-date, reliable information, so that if they're going to make a projection, if they're going to make an informed guess, it truly is informed rather than something that is mediocre guesswork. It might also save a disaster. So the case study in your text is an excellent example of how there was apparently poor due diligence and inadequate market research, and there was inadequate undertaking of proper research about underlying value of assets, and in that case, contamination. So why do we need market research? Well, we need to consider risk. We need to try and avoid high levels of risk, particularly in circumstances where, with the benefit of hindsight, the information that could have saved or enhanced a project was readily available. The next thing about market research is that it provides you with an opportunity to undertake proper forecasting models, which ties in with cash flow projections. And it provides you with an ability to consider the individual proposal that you have in mind, or to set your long-term objectives as a property developer. So it's very difficult to do these things in isolation without reference to expert material. All right, so just a reminder, first assessment due, 2 parts, 40% for the toolkit as I've described it, and 10% for the case summary. So that's all I propose to do tonight, another quick session. Ellen or Monica, thank you for joining us, but do you have any questions, comments?
Yeah, John, can I
Yes,
just confirm that your 3,000 word count, is that for both parts, A and B?
Yes. From memory, I think part A was 2,250, part B was 750. There's some degree of flexibility there. It does not include footnotes. So if you're really struggling, you can always put material in footnotes.
Okay.
And I hope everyone knows how to do footnote referencing.
Yeah.
You're fine with that, Monica. Ellen, did you have any trouble with footnote referencing? It's a bit different.
No, I haven't had any issues with that. I'm having issues with the word count because I've kind of blown my word count.
Yeah, no,
so
that's fine.
I've just gone into too much detail, but then I'm using a lot of my referencing in the toolkit. So, for
Yes.
example, if I'm referencing, saying, form like the development application form, for example, I've got the website link in there,
Sure.
but it's just in my toolkit. So rather than it being separate, it's kind of all together.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And, you know, that's a good way of getting around it by just using a link. So all of those things are good techniques. Put it in the footnote. And look, if it goes over, don't be that concerned, because if I think that it's good quality, I'm not going to be too worried. But word counts, really, you've got to be so careful with word counts if you're padding. If there's material where I think you could have used your words more efficiently or taken out marginal or irrelevant material, that's where you run the real risk of being marked down.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay. All right. So perhaps for the benefit of those people that may be looking at this recorded session, I'm just going to give you a really brief overview of what to do with footnote referencing. It's very simple, but if you're not used to it, it might appear to be challenging. The first thing to do is have a look at my sample document. There's clear indication of how to footnote reference, make sure it's paginated, things like that. But I'll just share the screen. We'll have a look at a blank Word document, and it's as simple as this. Go to Reference and go to Insert Footnote, and you'll see there down the bottom of the screen, the footnote is already there. I suppose I probably could have put some content. So there's some content. You'll see the footnote reference as superscript, and make sure that you add your punctuation where possible or relevant. I like to tab away from the footnote down the bottom. So if you then add some further material and you're going to reference that material, again, just click Insert Footnote at the top. It will automatically insert the superscript and the footnote reference at the bottom, and just tab away from that. You don't have to tab, it's my preference to do that. And what you'll see is that whereas the body of the text is in, say, 11 or 12 font, whatever your normal font is, you'll see normal there, the footnote reference is reduced to 10, which is the preferred size. So you'll see the footnote reference is a bit smaller. Okay, so that's a really simple way to footnote reference. So no excuses, easy to do. Okay, any questions arising from that, the assessment? Are you answering your weekly problems? Are you coming up with a solution to each review tutorial question? Hopefully, yes. The preferred answer is yes, I am. So,
Yes, of course we are.
very good. Thank you, Ella. That's exactly the answer I wanted to hear. What about you, Monica?
I'm, well, yes.
Yes.
Eventually.
All right, good.
I'm more concentrating. Time management is big. Yeah, but so I'm more concentrating on getting that assignment done. But yeah, definitely going through those review questions.
Good. Excellent. All right. So really, it's not a difficult unit, this one, but it's one where you need to think a bit laterally and try to make it as practically orientated as you can. So I really do want you to leave this unit thinking, well, I've got some theoretical material, but now I've really got something practical to use as well. Okay. All right. Well, if there are no questions or comments, you're welcome to, but if there are none, we'll wrap it up for this evening. Once again, I thank you for attending. And any questions, please ask through UCrew primarily, or if you need to, send me an email. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. And I'll just mention that whereas normally I provide feedback in relation to assessments about 12 days after the cut-off date. So usually for me, assessments are due on a Thursday, and I provide the feedback on the Monday or Tuesday week. So around about 11 or 12 days after the event. This time, because of a student issue, the feedback will be a few days later than that. So it'll be about 2 weeks after the assessment is due when I provide you with the feedback. But hopefully that will be timely enough to help you with your final examination. Okay, all the best, and we'll see you next week. Bye then.
Bye.
Thanks, John. Bye.
Bye.